Today, we are going to unravel the secret history of something you've probably held in your own hands, a simple loop of string. It's a game that connects generations and cultures, all without a single screen or even a rulebook.
So let me just ask you this. What's the one game that you can find being played all over the world, but it doesn't need a screen, a board, or even a ball?
You know, the answer is just so beautifully simple. All it takes is a single loop of string.
Okay, so first, let's get into how this thing is actually played. We're calling this section the Dance of the Hands.
At its heart, Cat's Cradle is all about a cooperative exchange. You have two players, and they pass these intricate string figures back and forth. See, each person's move completely alters the figure that the person before them just made. It's not really a competition, it's more like you're creating something together.
The game has this fundamental rhythm to it. It all starts with one player forming that famous cat's cradle figure. Then the second player comes in, carefully pinches the two little X's, pulls them out and under, and then as the first player lets go of the string, poof, a totally new figure emerges, the soldier's bed.
And from that point, the dance just keeps going through this whole known sequence of figures. From soldier's bed, you can move to candles, then to the manger, then diamonds, then cat's eye, and the real goal is to try and make it all the way back to the original cat's cradle and complete the entire cycle.
And this is where you can see some of the game's real elegance. Just look at this. See how the manager, which pops up later in the sequence, is basically an inverted version of the opening cat's cradle? The patterns echo and reflect each other all throughout the game. It's pretty cool.
All right, so next up, let's explore how this simple little game became a genuine global phenomenon, one with a ton of different names and identities all over the world.
I mean, just listen to some of these names. In Japan, it's called ayatori, which means string weaving. In China, it's fansheng, or turning rope. It's siltegi in Korea, and in Israel, it has this wonderfully charming name, Savta Soraget, which translates to knitting grandmother. How great is that?
But here's the part that is absolutely wild. Independent versions of this game have been found in indigenous cultures all over the globe. We're talking from the Arctic to Africa to the Pacific Islands. People just came up with this game on their own. It didn't spread from one place to another. It seems to be born from some kind of fundamental human impulse to create patterns.
But that brings up a really good question, right? If it was invented everywhere, where did the English name cat's cradle actually come from? Well, the answer is a little bit of a historical mystery.
You know, the history of the name is surprisingly debated. The first time we see cat's cradle written down is in a book from 1768. But then, almost 100 years later, in 1858, a cartoon in the famous Punch magazine called it Scratch Cradle, a name that was still being supported by Brewer's Dictionary 40 years after that.
So the leading theory actually connects back to that scratch cradle name. A lot of historians think that cat's cradle is just a corruption of the term cratch cradle. A cratch is an old word for a manger or a feeding trough for animals, which would tie the string figure directly to the Christian nativity story and the manger where the infant Jesus was laid.
So why do we still talk about it? I mean, in our world of super high-tech entertainment, what is the enduring legacy of this ancient, incredibly simple pastime?
Well, for one thing, people can take this game to some pretty incredible, even competitive extremes. Just look at this number for a second. 22,700.
Yep, that's the current world record, set way back in 1976 in Canada. Two people successfully completed 22,700 consecutive changes of cat's cradle figures. And get this, it took them 21 hours. That is just an unbelievable display of focus, endurance, and teamwork.
So how does it end? Well, the game stops when a player makes a mistake, gets the string tangled, or creates what's known as a dead-end figure. That's a shape that just can't be turned into anything else. It really shows you that even though the goal is cooperation, you still need precision to keep that cycle flowing.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought. Maybe the enduring appeal of Cat's Cradle is just its beautiful simplicity. It's a reminder of what we can create with just our hands, a partner, and a little bit of focus. So in a world that is so full of digital complexity, what can we still learn from a simple loop of string?